Right now on the National Weather Desk, hurricane threat. A potential storm could hit Texas later this week.
Tropical storm watches are in effect for the coast of Mexico and southern Texas.
Western wildfires. Flames rapidly spread across several states, threatening homes, businesses, and lives.
We've yet to lose or damage any structures, and we want to keep it that way.
A look back on destructive storms that took a toll back in the 90s.
It was one of the biggest weather stories across the Northeast in the past quarter century.
Important information about the dangers of mosquito-borne illnesses, and will help your garden grow before the season's first freeze.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Tomorrow is the peak of hurricane season. And while the season has been unexpectedly slow so far, things are starting to heat up. A potential storm is brewing in the Gulf of Mexico with two other disturbances in the Atlantic. Meteorologist Jen Collins is tracking them for us this morning.
This disturbance in the western Gulf of Mexico expected to become a tropical storm as it moves to the north. Right now, the National Hurricane Center has designated potential tropical cyclone 6 just to issue advisories on the system. Tropical storm watches are in effect for the coast of Mexico and southern Texas. It is forecast to strengthen, possibly becoming a hurricane before approaching landfall around the southern Louisiana, Texas area. The next name of the season is Francine. Now, we are monitoring two other areas in the central Atlantic for potential development. One has a high chance of becoming a tropical depression towards the second part of this week. Many models have been taking the system north of the Leeward Islands, expected to make a turn to the north here by the end of this week and into the weekend.
Multiple wildfires erupted over the weekend out west. Thousands of acres are burning and thousands of people in several states have been ordered to leave their homes because the fires present an immediate threat to life there in those communities. Many of the worst fires are burning in California and Nevada. They aren't far from large population areas in Los Angeles, Reno, San Francisco, Sacramento. As of last night, the line fire burned more than 20,000 acres in San Bernardino County east of LA. It's 0% contained. The flames are approaching the mountain community of Running Springs, which isn't far from popular resort areas of Big Bear Lake and Lake Arrowhead. More than 36,000 structures, including homes and businesses, are being threatened, and the weather is not cooperating. The area is under an excessive heat warning, with temperatures expected to hit 108 degrees today. That's making it especially difficult for firefighters.
So the biggest challenge when the fire is unpredictable like this is knowing where to position all your crews. So right now we've positioned them all over the whole fire.
The cause of the fire is still not known. California Governor Gavin Newsom proclaimed a state of emergency. The fire is so intense that it's creating its own weather in the form of a pyrocumulus cloud. They can help that fire spread because they create erratic winds that push the fire outward. When the fire is hot enough, the clouds produce lightning and rain and generate their own systems of thunderstorms. Another wildfire is burning in Northern California and is forcing residents to evacuate their homes. On Sunday, firefighters had their hands full trying to contain the Boyles Fire located 100 miles north of the Bay Area. The fire has burned 36 acres so far, and the flames have damaged at least 30 structures. Andreas Valley spoke to residents who have been impacted.
Live Copter 3 over the Boyles Fire in Clear Lake Sunday, providing exclusive views of the extensive damage.
I got a phone call from my mother saying, come back home because you have the truck and that's what we can use to get more things out of there. So I came back home and the fire started spreading because of the wind.
The fire engulfing the community of Clear Lakes Avenue. As fire crews battle the fire from the sky and on the ground, Jose Morales ordered to evacuate but chose to stay and watch the fire from this hill.
Protect my stuff. You know, I can't take everything with me and we work hard for what we have, so try to protect it.
Garencio Ortiz Velasco using a garden hose to protect his friend's property by hosing down hot spots. The neighbor's house was destroyed. Velasco telling us that they had to break the news to them.
And roughly 14,000 people remain under evacuation orders near Reno, Nevada because of the Davis fire. 14 structures have been impacted by the fire so far, and nearly 4,000 acres have burned. A state of emergency was declared for that area. Officials have warned that it could be difficult to contain the fire as gusty winds are expected in the region throughout the week. All those fires are impacting the air quality across the West. Anthony Ramos tells us about what prompts air quality alerts in the area.
Air quality is monitored using a tool commonly seen during weathercasts, the Air Quality Index. It's broken down into levels: good, moderate, unhealthy for sensitive groups, unhealthy, very unhealthy, and hazardous.
When you get above unhealthy for sensitive groups, everyone can start to see impacts. Everyone should consider reducing outdoor activity, and hazardous should be stay inside.
What happens to our air quality ultimately depends on fire conditions.
Our best models show about 2 days out, so that's about as far out as we can forecast. And fire conditions change quickly, so could be longer, could be shorter.
Well, this past Saturday marked the anniversary of a destructive Labor Day storm that impacted several states. Meteorologist Peter Hall tells us all about it.
The anniversary of the 1998 Labor Day storm, where 2 derechos occurred across the Northeast. The first one happened during the middle of the night, just after midnight, across central New York, and then went into New England. That's noted by this green blob area. 3 people died in the greater Syracuse area, with winds estimated of 115 miles per hour. The definition of a derecho, by the way, is a strong, damaging thunderstorm wind swath that goes across a long area, typically at least 400 miles long and 60 miles wide. In fact, the Labor Day storm had 2 derechos. Notice during the wee hours of the morning, a secondary derecho started around Ohio, went across Pennsylvania into New Jersey and the tri-state area of New York City and Long Island. I want to show you what the radar looked like from the immediate Syracuse area and central New York, where those storms worked through the area and some of the damage that occurred. It was one of the biggest weather stories across the Northeast in the past quarter century.
A change of season is approaching us, but some parts of the country are dealing with stifling conditions outdoors. Meteorologist Kit Alexander explains how storms can bring brief relief.
The fall season is just around the corner. Love this time of year. Cooler temperatures and lower humidity will soon follow. In fact, for many folks living along the mid-Atlantic and the Midwest, cooler temperatures and lower humidity have arrived. While some of us are enjoying the cool temperatures, there's still a large portion of Florida and the Gulf Coast that are experiencing high humidity values. As many of you know, proximity to the water, warm water temperatures, and wind direction play a key role in the overall humidity levels. Temporary relief from the highest dew points can occur with scattered storms. Since the dew point is critical for how it feels outside, storms can tap into cooler, drier air aloft, causing downdrafts, which will temporarily bring slightly more comfortable conditions. However, the atmosphere can quickly recover to its previous state. As the air begins to mix or heat from the sun increases the evaporation of water. This is because water vapor acts as a greenhouse gas, trapping heat. Unfortunately, this kind of tropical weather pattern is typically stagnant. It's a rinse and repeat like weather cycle. So if you're ready for fall conditions, the good news is as we progress into the autumn season, cold fronts will become stronger, and inevitably changes in the weather pattern will follow.
Now let's check to see the weather in cities across the country today. We begin in Baltimore, Maryland, where there is nothing but sunshine. Highs will get up into the low 80s with winds around 10 miles per hour tonight. Temperatures, though, will dip into the low 60s. And heading down to New Orleans, where they are definitely keeping an eye on the system in the Gulf. Skies, though, are partly cloudy today with showers and thunderstorms possibly this afternoon. Highs to be in maybe the mid-80s. And heading east to El Paso, Texas, where sunshine is plentiful today with highs getting into the upper 80s, and we'll end in Seattle, Washington, where skies are cloudy this morning and expected to stay that way most of the day. High today in Seattle is on around 70 degrees. For the latest and most up-to-date weather news and headlines, be sure to check us out on social media. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. And coming up on the National Desk, fall is around the corner, but there's still enough heat for disease-spreading mosquitoes to be active. We'll look at ways to avoid the diseases that these insects can actually spread. And we'll have tips to prepare your garden for the colder months ahead.
I'm meteorologist Ryan Munn with a look at the Northeast. As we head through the day on Monday, we are going to see a mostly dry day up towards Maine, but notice a couple showers down to the south. In southern New England, we are going to see a couple showers, maybe even a few thunderstorms as well. And as we head into the day on Tuesday, lots of sunshine is expected. We are going to see a mainly dry day across the Northeast, and the high temperatures for today topping out in the 60s to low and mid 70s.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Quiet weather. It will complete your week, really. We're not going to see much of anything in terms of rainfall to come your way, but high pressure is going to continue to settle in, which means we'll stay mostly sunny. We will stay dry, but winds out of the north and west for the most part until we get that high pressure to change positions here. But it will be a chilly start to your Monday, where we begin in the 40s, but we will likely warm up to the 80s by the afternoon, looking at another day of some nice temperatures on Tuesday.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here is a check of your forecast for the day today. We can see where that frontal boundary is parked out because slightly lower temperatures are expected in northern Florida today. It's a stationary frontal boundary, but we have seen slight dips in the temperatures and the humidity across the rest of the region. Mid and upper 80s, low 90s down in southern Florida. We are expecting sea breeze showers in the afternoon in the Florida Peninsula. Also, we're expecting increased rain chances to start in southern Louisiana and southern Alabama as a result of some tropical moisture.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Lightning creeps across these clouds over Oregon during a thunderstorm southeast of Portland. These are known as anvil crawlers. Also, hundreds of lightning strikes were tallied across the state Friday and Saturday, sparking dozens of new fires. And during the weekend, this waterspout was spotted off St. George Island, Florida, Saturday morning.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Fall is around the corner, but there's still enough heat for disease-spreading mosquitoes to be active. Meteorologist Veronica Johnson spoke with an expert about how to spot and avoid the diseases these insects can spread.
As long as it's still warm, mosquitoes will flourish, and that means mosquito-borne illnesses like West Nile will continue to be a threat.
Once we start to hit those 50 degrees, this is going to slow down dramatically, but September is the second most important month for cases of things like West Nile viruses here in the United States.
Entomologist Michael Raup says we have had nearly 380 cases of West Nile in the U.S. this year so far, and we need to stay vigilant and take precautions.
Mosquitoes, particularly ones that carry West Nile virus, are going to be most active at dawn and dusk.
Around the world, mosquitoes kill more people than any other animal on Earth. So how many people are impacted from West Nile? And is there another mosquito-borne illness that we should be focused on?
It's only a very small proportion of people develop a severe illness due to West virus, less than 1%. In the great majority of people, it's only 20 to 30%, about 1 in 5, that will have any symptoms at all. Here in the Northeast, we have to be worried about another very serious virus, which is called Eastern equine encephalitis. Fortunately, this is a rather rare virus. The problem with Eastern equine is its mortality rate is about 30%. And even those that recover from the viral disease and do not die are likely to suffer chronic neurological damage.
The dams have been removed and the Klamath River is running unimpeded from its origins to the Pacific Ocean. Work has already started on restoring the land that was once underwater. Mike Mangus has more.
The goal is to restore historic salmon runs in the Klamath River, and part of the work is to restore land that has been underwater for a century. Dave Muir is from Resource Environmental Solutions, hired for the restoration. He made a presentation to the Reading Rotary Club. He says land that looked like this in a matter of a couple of months.
The reservoirs were all drained in January, and we have the entire area planted. It was blooming in March and April, and looking great. Some people drove up there and actually were trying to find out where the reservoirs used to be because all they saw was a river cutting through poppies.
There are challenges. Planting this much land in Siskiyou County and southern Oregon involved literally billions of seeds from 98 native plant species found in the area. And Dave says they've been countering misinformation.
You're working in the mud, but we can handle that with helicopters spreading, 20 billion seeds. I think one of the biggest challenges has been how misunderstood the program has been. The reservoirs that are being removed do not store water for agriculture or for cities, for ranches. They were just hydropower facilities, so water in, water out, and they weren't flood control structures.
And he says the 2% of Pacific Corp's power that was lost has already been replaced. It's really all about the fish. The fall Chinook salmon run is down 98% from 100 years ago, the spring run almost non-existent. And that's what makes this so worthwhile.
Boating season isn't over just yet. Meteorologist Amy Aronson spoke with a boating expert in Baltimore, Maryland to learn more about how long the boating season actually is and what happens when the weather gets a lot cooler.
You've got great weather. It's typically a little bit cooler. You get a little bit of crisp air in the morning, not so hot during the day, not as many folks out on the water. You get to enjoy it a little bit more to yourself. Just great weather, in my opinion.
September is when tropical activity usually peaks, and some of these systems can impact Maryland.
In the occasion that we do get a hurricane or remnants of a hurricane here, folks will come down and maybe double up the lines on their boat, make sure that everything's super secure. And generally, you can ride out the storm pretty well. We've been fortunate the past few years not to really be in the direct eye of the storm. So generally, you can just ride it out in the marina. Here at Lighthouse Point, we've got floating docks, which is really an advantage when you're riding out a storm versus a marina that has fixed docks.
The boating season will wind down in the next couple of weeks, and here's what happens then in the marina.
People will start to kind of put things to bed for the winter season, get their boats winterized. Some folks will winter in the water and just leave their boat in the water and shrink wrap it. Other folks will take their boats out and store them on land. And then some lucky few take their boats south for the winter and enjoy the sunnier climes.
And by spring, it's time to get the boats back in the water.
Yeah, we'll really start to see activity start to pick up right around April 1st, April 15th. Things start to gear up again, and then they really hit high gear in May.
In Baltimore, Maryland, I'm meteorologist Amy Aronson.
If you have a gardening thumb, meteorologist Corbin Vogels explains what you can still grow before the first cold snap.
What's growing on, gardeners? Just Corbin Vogels here telling you it might be September and fall is quickly approaching here in the high plains in zone 7B, but you can still grow some stuff if you're into gardening. Some of those things that you probably would start to get a head start on right now would be your brassicas, things like your cabbages, your cauliflower, your broccoli, even some Brussels sprouts. Some of our raised garden beds, we planted these about a week ago, and you can see that they've already sprouted, and we've got about 50 to 60 days left before our first frost. But some of these are very cold hardy. Carrots are cold hardy. Radishes have a very short growing season, so if you're still got that itch for gardening, it's not too late to get something growing.
And did you know there are several different types of fog? Have you ever heard of steam fog? It takes a unique set of circumstances for it to form. Meteorologist Amanda Verrier recently posted about steam fog and how it forms on TikTok. Let's take a look.
Let's talk about something that you may have seen before, but don't quite know how it forms. I'm talking steam fog. Steam fog can happen over any body of water. You just need the air to be colder than the water. So you have nice warm water, and that kind of makes a boundary right above the water of warm, moist air. And once that cold air kind of sweeps through, it mixes with this warm, moist air, condenses, and creates our fog there. We normally see this type of fog more going into fall, as the water temperatures have a little bit more of a lag to it than air temperatures.
And time now for a short break, but first we take in views of the Cincinnati Nature Center.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Sarah Converse. We have a large area of high pressure dominating the Midwest, so plenty of sunshine across the area from the plains all the way to the Ohio River Valley. But note where that high pressure system is. Some of the eastern portion of the Midwest, we are in those 70s and 80s, but on the back half of the high pressure system, we got those hotter temperatures with highs in the upper 80s and low 90s, 91 in Lincoln, and some cool weather on tap for tonight.
Good Monday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at our forecast across the region, and overall a pretty nice Monday. We're cool 50s and 60s, North Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas, low 70s down to the south. Mostly sunny, low humidity for most, so pretty nice Monday from San Antonio up towards DFW, Oklahoma City to Little Rock. But all attention is on the Gulf as we watch this potential tropical cyclone form in the days ahead, riding up the Texas coastline, likely landfall sometime midweek on the Texas-Louisiana border.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. We still have an excessive heat warning across parts of Southern California, stretching into Arizona, but the big cool down is just getting rolling for the week ahead into the Pacific Northwest from Seattle to Portland. Our weather makers are currently high pressure, and it's keeping wildfire danger in place around the Great Basin and the Sierra Nevada, with dry, gusty winds and a lot of wildfire smoke across Oregon and Idaho. That's the scene from here.
The National Weather Desk.
Well, it's been a summer for the record books in California's Central Valley. Meteorologist Chris Kuiper looks at the numbers.
Looking at the San Joaquin Valley here, hottest month ever for us was the month of July in Fresno and also in Merced, Madera, and Bakersfield, when you look at mean average temperatures for the entire month. And in Fresno, broke it by a fair amount there, as a matter of fact, which is pretty impressive for the month of July, which led up to it being the hottest summer ever in Merced and Hanford. In Fresno, we ended up being the second hottest summer, and in Bakersfield, it was the third hottest summer, looking at meteorological summer, which runs from June, July through August, which is wrapped up. Hopefully, it'll start cooling off here as we get closer to the beginning of fall in just a couple of weeks.
And looking for more great weather content, you can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Monday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.